Fuck you. We're going. Hello, fermented folks. We have P. Jelly Clark. All Makatsu. We have Travis Baldry.
Today we have a really special guest, Leopoldo Gout.
Are you reeling it in and defending clowns?
I am. Earth doesn't even exist in Battlestar Galactica.
This show me heartburn. I was like, I loves it. I hate it.
It's called All Fluff.
Oh!
If you didn't know how I actually feel about The Mandalorian,
don't worry.
This is it right here.
Yeah.
Hello, fermented folks, and welcome to another episode of Fermented Fiction, the show where we debate the best movies, books, and shows in the genre fiction realm with our distinguished guests from about the industry. That guest tonight is Jeff C. Carter, our friend from We Bleed Orange and Black, and many other collaborations along the way. Jeff, what's up, dog? How you doing, man?
What up?
Not much. Long time no see. We all got to hang out at StokerCon. That was a riot.
It was certainly a riot. We almost started a riot even when we led a bunch of drunken authors down the streets of Pittsburgh.
That
trying
was
to
the
find bar after
diciest
bar,
shit.
and we just didn't find one, did we?
You're in Travis's confidence and lack of ability.
Eventually did
was astounding.
Find a couple bars. And I had my own series of misadventures because I walked some people there. Like there's some people that were like, I'm out.
Yep.
I'm going to head back to the hotel. And I'm like, why don't I walk with you? Because it was getting a little sketchy. It was getting a little late.
It was.
Yeah. Good times.
It was good times.
Okay.
And we did eventually make it to the bar. I let a guy cut me in line because I noticed he'd been waiting a while, and then he offered me cocaine. We had a whole bunch of fun. It was just a ride of a time.
Everything was up for grabs at that place. It was pretty cool. And then more and more authors we knew kept showing up like midnight, at 1 a.m., at 2 a.m. And I was like, wow, I cannot believe people are still heading out here.
Yeah, authors are like grown-up theater kids. It's crazy.
We really are. We really are. A lot of us realized trying to make it in theater was even worse than making it in publishing. So here we are.
Let's just say we have a face for writing.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. A voice for writing as well. But too bad for you. It's easy to make a fucking podcast, so y'all got to listen to us anyway. Suck it, internet. Suck it. All right. Yeah. But before you suck that, you're going to listen to more of our words. We're going to be here for a couple hours. Tonight, we're going to be discussing The Boogeyman, which is a film based on a Stephen King short story that was made in 2023. There are many films called The Boogeyman, but this one is one of the newest, one of the latest, and possibly one of the greatest. But that really depends on your dice roll, because this is fermented fiction. Before we do that, we'll start this episode the way we start every episode, which is our personal updates, and then we'll go into Jeff and we'll talk to him about what he does and what he's working on and all that good shit. Jeremy, what's up?
Hi, everybody. Hello, America. Now, hey, hello. I am here as a representative of not the everyman, because obviously not. Wouldn't work.
See last night's episode.
Yeah, see last night, or literally any episode with my stupid face in it.
Sure.
You'll put it together, you know. But yeah. I heard this very day, like, the wildest take on The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy that I think I've ever heard, because it's exactly the opposite of what you would think it should be.
Okay.
Person who will tastefully go unnamed said that they didn't like the books and ended up watching the movie, and they were like, well, this is pretty good.
I see.
And that's I don't know what to do with that.
That sounds like a media literacy problem. If someone likes the movies more than the books.
Yeah, it's weird. That's a crazy take. And
yeah.
Yes, I know, Speed Racer or you're out. I know.
I have my standards, guys.
We're always getting there, Jeff.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, days without Speed Racer references 0, days without Hitchhiker's Guide references 0, but that's fine. We were going to reach there pretty much regardless. Last night we ticked Game of Thrones back off.
Yeah. I don't know if I got to my Game of Thrones, or not Game of Thrones, my Hitchhiker's Guide reference yesterday, where I think that Leslie Vernon just really reminds me of the people of cricket.
He cares more.
Yeah.
He cares a whole lot.
So surely in StreamYard, you can set up some kind of digital, days without Lord of the Rings references, days without Game of Thrones, etc.
Oh, don't worry.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
We're getting there. This next season is going to be wild.
Yeah, we've got plans. We got big plans. But we're to be completely honest, we are on second to last episode of this season, and we've done a fuck ton of episodes this season, so we're riding it out with the format.
Senioritis, okay.
We have senioritis for sure, and you are essentially the teacher trying to make us turn in our last two teacher
coming in at the end of the semester.
Yeah,
I'll just load up the projector with 2023's The Boogeyman, and
there you go.
Sit there and scroll my phone.
Everyone write an essay about depression in media and fucking shut up.
Yeah.
Yep, and Travis is the teacher who went on his vacation a week early. That son of a bitch. By vacation, we do, of course, mean he's probably mowing like an acre of yard right now. Which is
he's doing vacation wrong.
Yes, he sucks at it. Most Vermullums do. We just never stop working. And that's not really good for you, but we don't know no other way. Speaking of which, that's I guess my personal update Jeff asked me about earlier in the green room. You can see my background is different. I'm here helping take care of my grandparents. And while I do that, I'm continuing a bunch of work remotely on the film company stuff that I've been doing. I told everybody, viewers of the show know, earlier in the year, I talked about how I got hired for this film company. Still doing it, which is cool. It's pretty awesome to have a steady creative field job like that, and I'm very thankful for it. I'm currently producing a short film for them, and that's my first time being like an official producer with like a real budget, making things happen, and we're just doing a bunch of location scouting and casting right now, so it's a lot of fun getting to be in the producer's chair for real, with an actual budget and all that good stuff. So I will update y'all about that next season, because by then the film will have been shot and we'll have some sort of plans of distribution and festivals and things like that. So if it's coming anywhere near any of you, I'll certainly let you know. Hopefully I'm sure we'll show it on a screen or two in Seattle at the very least. But yeah, it's going to be a short film, a little slice of life drama, and it's going to be awesome. So I'm having fun with that. That's my personal update.
Sick.
Hefe. What's up, dog? What's going on with you? Who are you? And what do you do? Tell the fermented folks.
So in a nutshell, my name is Jeff C. Carter. My stories have been featured in dozens of anthologies, translated for international markets, and adapted for podcasts. I explore Halloween and horror on my own podcast, We Bleed Orange and Black, and I also host a series of live storytelling events with local horror writers called Wicked Whispers. So that's what I've been doing lately. I just made a website for Wicked Whispers, making the socials, working on some short stories, making sure I always have, some different offerings kind of going on the back burner. October's coming up fast. That is my busiest time of year, as you can imagine. There's a lot of parties and events and podcast spooktaculars. So I've just been reading, writing, taking notes, doing lots of scheduling, getting that sort of runway set up. I've had a few people reach out, to come on the podcast. And unfortunately, I had to tell him, like, I'm good for 2026. Like, for every single week, I am booked out.
Dang.
So people are like, hey, can we come on in September? And I'm like, that's kind of late notice. It's definitely for horror writers and for horror movies, October is such a crush. It's like crunch time. So you kind of, if you're not on the schedule by midsummer, like it's not happening.
Yeah. No, that's for sure. Halloween, all of October for any horror adjacent or horror directly related horror people is just absolutely swamped. And it feels like
baby.
Only horror people understand that. It really is true. I last year, Travis got married in October, and I was like, bruh, come on, man.
Come on, dude.
What are we doing here?
Bro, I know fall is pretty.
I would have phoned in the objection. Like, I object.
I know, right? I know.
Like, how early can I get that in?
So did you squeeze them into September or no?
No. I mean, I have my own spreadsheet of all the episodes coming up and all the episodes I've banked.
Yeah.
And there's, some of them are release day dependent. So there's a couple projects that are dropping in August and a couple that are dropping in September. So I have to get those out on the schedule in advance because they're authors with pre-orders and things like that. And it's part of their rollout is to, have a couple podcasts circulating. So no one is getting on the schedule. It's locked down. It's airtight. That's it that's a wrap on 2026. I mean, there's a lot more work to do, but that work will not be recording fresh podcasts.
Nice. Well, congrats. I mean, it's always nice to have the season locked up. I know we at Fermented Fiction are all looking forward to taking a couple months off because we've been this season was wild. We were shooting like 3 episodes a week sometimes. And we had even said, July will be easy. And then we decided to schedule 2 episodes a week for the entire month.
Jesus.
But yeah, here we be. We're glad you're here, Jeff, doing our penultimate episode for season 4 or season 5 rather. And it's been a hell of a time. And thank you all for being here with us, Fermented folks. Let's get into this thing. So
absolutely do it.
The Boogeyman. It is about the creature that you think it's about. The Boogeyman is the Boogeyman in this movie, which is kind of nice because sometimes a movie's called like The Boogeyman and it's about like a serial killer or it's about like some other random thing that is just called the Boogeyman. But this movie is literally about the actual Boogeyman creature, which Stephen King is a big fan of. He's written about the Boogeyman in many different short stories. But this one is directly taking it on. That being said, a lot of the Boogeyman lore you would expect is in this movie. It's about a father raising 2 daughters by himself after the tragic death of his wife. He's a therapist who works from home, so his house is also his office. So he's got therapy clients coming in and out. He's got one daughter that's in high school and one that's in like middle grade or elementary school. I don't know if we ever found out her exact age for sure. But she seems like 6th grader, something in that range, because she's old enough to talk and be pretty bright, but she's not like a little kid. And then the other kid seems to be junior, senior in high school. Anyway, yeah, so they've lost their mom. Everybody's dealing with that trauma. It's clearly a very fresh thing. And one day, a very troubled man walks into the therapist office, sort of right off the street, no appointment, no intake sheet filled out or anything. And he just kind of goes, yo, I need to talk to you, bro. And bro's like, all right, well, I got an hour. I'm an empathetic, compassionate therapist, man. So have a seat and tell me what's going on. He says, there's a Boogeyman and it's fucking here and it's following me around. And it killed my whole family, no matter what the internet says. Therapist man says, sure. And then he's like, gotta take a bathroom break. Goes out and calls the police. When he comes back, that man has killed himself in his house. So that's kind of where it all kicks off. And from there, horror really starts to happen. I'm not going to tell you too much more about it right now because we'll get into it in the debate. This is also the time, if you don't like spoilers, to go the fuck away, because we're going to spoil everything on this podcast as we do every single episode. So if you have not yet seen The Boogeyman from 2023, which is entirely possible, it's not that old of a movie, do recommend going and checking it out. It's certainly worth a watch. Or is it? Let's roll dice and find out. Jeff, Jeremy, you guys ready to roll your dice?
I am. Do you have a dice? Ready. Can I elect you as my champion, Clay?
Yes, I'll grab it.
Yes, do it. Now, I hope you're ready for this, because I sure know how to roll a die, and I hope, for your sake, Clay can roll better than a 17.
Ooh. Can I roll with advantage, or do I have any attribute bonuses I can apply to this roll?
I rolled a 17 while you were away.
As a returning guest, do I get any bonuses to my die?
You know what? Nobody's ever asked.
That's true.
Charisma roll?
I will give you one charisma reroll. But beating a 17 is tough, and you should know you already rolled a 16. So I was pretty happy with my roll, but would you like me to try one more again?
No, I will accept the dice's ruling.
Okay, I think that's a good call. The dice gods do not favor the other result. Okay. I do like the idea, though, of giving guests like some sort of, like, if they do something, they can earn a reroll. You know, I don't know what they'd have to do, but
like a keg stand or something.
Yeah, a shot.
How many shots they do?
Yeah. Just quick keg stand from any guest that.
Each shot is plus one to your roll.
I have all these kegs here, but they're not tapped, so
bummer. Yeah, maybe next time.
A little too late.
If you do a sake bomb, you do get advantage. So
okay. Yeah. All right. Next time.
Statue of Liberty shot where you set your finger on fire. That's got to be worth a plus one at least.
Oh, for sure. If you did a Statue of Liberty shot, we'd definitely call this a tie, and everybody would have to re-roll.
That's true.
But again, next time come with your kegs tapped. Okay. Well, here we go. That means, everybody, if you're not familiar, since Jeremy rolled high, he's going to defend the Boogeyman. And since Jeff rolled low by just a single point, he's going to attack the Boogeyman as if it's the worst movie he's ever seen. And then afterwards, we'll talk about what we really think, and we'll tell you some fun facts and all that good stuff. Y'all ready to go? Hits below the belt are encouraged. Jeremy, you will start as the defender. I'm going to disappear from.
Oh,
and then 3, 2, 1, go.
Fight.
All right. So, hey, the Boogeyman, not just any Boogeyman, but this one's the one. And this movie, I am happy to have rolled high. Like, it's an easy one to try to defend. The ambiance, the cinematography, the performances are solid, even though the characterizations themselves are pretty basic. You have a traumatized family, and that's most of what you learn about them throughout the movie in terms of like actual, like, I don't know, exposition, but like through their actions, through their inquiries into what's happening with them, you do learn like a lot about who they are as people. Like the older daughter, she is, you know, more inquisitive. She's struggling with the death of her mom, but she's not as like bottled off and like drowning in it as her dad is, and she's somewhere between her younger sister and her dad in terms of where her mental state is at, just because, you know, she's older, things are hard. The younger daughter, not too much going on, but it makes sense. It's not needed for the story to move forward. And then you have this great creature, this psychic spider parrot that doesn't like the light. It's, oh boy, just watching that thing move, and the movie does an incredible job of not giving too much away about what the creature physically looks like. Even after you've like seen it, you don't get like a full-on money shot of this thing until like the end, because it, you know, doesn't like the light, doesn't seem to be hurt by the light, just doesn't like it very much. And I have my own theories about why that is, but like, oh, there's just so much to love. It's great to look at, so much environmental ambiance. So it's good. It's a good time, and watch it. It's great. It's fun. What do you think, Jeffrey?
Well, first of all, this is the worst movie I've ever seen, or at least that's, I think, what I'm supposed to say. So this movie came out in 2023, and I think that's important to remember for a couple reasons. This is like prime metaphor movie era, and if you're going to make a movie or a monster movie that's a metaphor, you have to pick one thing. So is this boogeyman supposed to be grief, or is it supposed to be fear, or is it supposed to be black mold? Because it's kind of everything and it's kind of nothing. As Jeremy pointed out, this creature, this horrifying, dangerous creature, is afraid of the light, which that's not scary at all, because, we live in a world of electric lights. And if the bad guy's afraid of lights, I'm feeling pretty confident. At one point, someone sets up work lights. At another point, they light lots and lots of candles.
So many candles.
So many candles.
Burn
it's an insurance nightmare. There's a character that even wraps herself up in Christmas lights. Has no one ever heard of a flashlight? Apparently not, because no one has access to a flashlight in this entire movie. Folks, this is what you need to remember. When your enemy is light sensitive, your weapon travels at the speed of light. You cannot lose. If you have like a small mirror and a flashlight on your phone, you're good. So suck it, boogeyman, because I'm hitting all the angles. I'm reflecting light into every corner. I'm going to get a disco ball, and then guess what? You're screwed.
I'd push back on that. Like, in this movie, like the boogeyman doesn't seem to like be hurt or like hindered in any way by the light. It just doesn't like it, which I think comes down to like
from the light.
I think it comes down to its feeding patterns. Okay, and we'll get into that whole thing, because I got a lot to say about this particular monster, because I would want to kill it if you'll want to. And luckily it does appear to be deathly allergic to being burned alive. And
what is fire but the brightest light imaginable?
Is it?
That's just science. I don't make the rules.
That does sound like science. It sounds very scientific when you put it that way. But
so I think, back to the film.
Yeah.
The house that these characters live in must have terrible acoustics, because you've got people screaming and getting bashed against walls in one room, and then the other people are like across the hall or they're upstairs. They never hear anything. The father is emotionally absent, and that's his like fatal flaw, but he's also physically absent for long stretches of the movie. This is a single father with 2 school-age daughters, and he's barely on screen. He's never around, and he's not out drinking. He's just in the other room, like folding his sweaters.
They say he doesn't even drink.
Yeah, he doesn't even drink. Everyone feels disconnected, and every scene feels disconnected from every other scene.
See,
it's not an isolation story. It is like a bunch of set pieces built around certain tricks of lighting or certain gimmicks, like a flashing red light in the therapist's office, or
just absolute nightmare.
Sure, but it feels like it's a chopped up bunch of short films because the writers and the director came out of this short film world. And it's clear they're like, okay, we have one gimmick that we can make a 5 to 10 minute short film around. Oh, we're making a feature. I guess we're just going to string together a bunch of gimmicks for short films. And they doesn't feel cohesive, doesn't feel connected. This movie came out in 2023 and it had me thinking like, well, it takes about a year or two minimum for a movie to get shot, produced, edited, post-production, released. And I was thinking, did this movie come out during COVID? Because COVID movies have a certain disjointed feel to them where it's like, how come there's never more than like 3 people on the screen together at the same time? What I found out was that this director, his first film was Host in 2020 that was shot during COVID. His follow-up was Dashcam in 2021, which was also a COVID movie. So this was his first post-COVID movie. And I think he got into this habit of like, oh yeah, we only work with like 1 or 2 people on screen at a time. It really felt like a COVID movie, and it really kind of suffered because of that.
See, I'm gonna go ahead and disagree. Especially when it comes to like the characters feeling disconnected from each other. This is a grief story. They honestly should be that way. There should be that like hesitance of connection, which is why it's not really until the end where they're like really coming together to kick the shit out of a weird spider thing with fingers for hands and a face for a tongue. You know, it makes sense for the dad not wanting to be around his children, who I assume look at least something like his late wife. Now, sure, some things.
Maybe they look like the milkman, and that's why he can't be in the same room with him.
Maybe that's one fetching milkman. I don't know.
They never show us the milkman, so we can't rule that out.
I think they mainly don't show the milkman because of how it was 2023, and a milkman hasn't been a thing for about a century at that point. Or half a century, maybe. Yeah.
Again, we can't rule it out.
Hard to say.
This is all just conjecture at this point.
It's very speculative. But what I will say, one point that I will concede when it comes to the characters is one of the friends, like Sadie's friend, that horrible blonde dick of a girl. I don't know why anybody is actually friends with her, but you gotta have something to build the tension, I suppose. Ultimately, it's very fun. Very well.
Drink of the week, everybody.
Yeah,
Great debate, lads.
Good work, everybody.
That was a lot of fun.
We really did it.
You really did it, y'all. And we're proud of you, and we appreciate you for it. So, what's everybody drinking? Jeff, do you want to start?
I will start, but first I'm going to cough. Sorry, I'm going to mute myself.
Do it. Jeremy, what are you drinking? You start.
Well, hey, what I'm drinking, and this is still on my sort of bent of just trying to use up things that I do have and not trying to buy anything extra for the show because I frankly have too much.
Sure.
This is a drink called Cameron's Kick, which is like a whiskey sour, but with blended Scotch and Irish whiskey, as well as an orgeat syrup, and it's great. So I'm busting out these bad boys. And
it's
very nice.
And it's a good time.
How do you like the green label?
It's fun and smoky and kind of funky.
Yeah.
So if you like that kind of stuff in your Scotch, then oh boy. Part of it is the Cal Ela, which is the beginning of my evil infinity bottle. So
nice.
So that's something to consider.
Right on.
So, Clay, I have a somewhat unique offering this week.
Nice. The Dice Gods appreciate that.
Following me on social media, but one of the things I didn't really mention it in my intro, was I also do a series of folklore talks. Oh. And I do them specifically around the boogeyman and things like that. And so I've been doing that for a while at a local venue that is also a brewery. And I was saying to my friend Jesse, who's the proprietor, I was like, if we could brew a boogeyman beer, that would be amazing.
That'd be sick.
We made a whole night out of it. It was called the Boogie Bash. And nice. I gave my folklore talk, which is called The Boogeyman is Real. And I talked about the history and lore of the boogeyman in different cultures. Then they did a screening of the old Disney movie, Mr. Boogedy.
Okay.
And they also tapped the keg and released this new beer called Boogeyman Porter, which is just so dark and lovely and delicious. And as a dark beer drinker, as a fan of porters and stouts, it was just really like an author achievement unlocked.
Hell yeah.
And so I swung by today and he filled up this huge growler for me of Boogeyman Porter. So if I start to slur later, it wasn't me, it's the Boogeyman.
The Boogeyman did it.
Yeah.
If I start to slur later, Johnny did it.
Hell yeah. That's awesome, man. Author achievement indeed unlocked. Always great to imagine having your very own beer named after a folklore creature that you put so much time and effort into studying. So that's really awesome, man. My drink is much less special and much less unique. We probably should have just ended with you. I'm drinking the same thing as last night because I'm trying to finish it. This Michter's. It's a single barrel straight rye. It's a nice rye whiskey if you like rye whiskeys. It's pretty tasty. This is from Kentucky, and apparently they were established in 1753. I haven't done any research. I'm just taking their word on it. But it is here on the bottle.
In advertising,
yeah. The advertising has me convinced. It doesn't taste like it's from 1793, but you know, that's probably for the best. So here we go, and I'm mixing it with some seltzer water because it actually mixes quite well. And there it is. That's the end of this bottle here.
There you go. I always believed in you.
Pour one out for the Boogeyman.
Pour it right out. Now, sure, I'm going to pour it out into my mouth, but it's still out. Yeah, it gets out.
It's a libation.
Right. Cheers. There you go, Boogeyman. Enjoy that.
Cheers.
And fuck off. Get out of my house if you're in here. Okay. So, let's do some fermented facts, shall we?
Oh, yeah.
I got a few facts about this movie. It's not a super fact-heavy movie. Trivia sometimes takes a few years to build up, and then certain movies, they just never quite amass the amount of trivia that others do. The backstory and everything contributes to that a lot, but there's a few fun ones. So as we mentioned in the pre-debate part of the show, this is a film adaptation of a short story written by Stephen King. It was originally featured in a 1973 issue of Cavalier magazine and later in Night Shift, which is a collection by Stephen King. If you haven't ever read Night Shift, I highly recommend that. It's got tons of great short stories in it, and several of them have been adapted into film at this point. Night Shift was one of his best bangers, especially in terms of short story collections. It might be his best one. I think it's probably his most referenced one, at least. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Gave us Lawnmower Man, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm talking about.
Without Night Shift.
Yeah,
there wouldn't be a Lawnmower Man if it weren't for Night Shift, and for that, Steven, we thank you. This was also originally meant to be released straight to streaming on Hulu, but there were literally so few releases at the time that it opened a window of theatrical release for this film, which is really good. Knowing that fact it will surprise you to hear the box office numbers as well, because the fact it was going to go straight to streaming and then it did what it did is actually really damn impressive. The scene where Sawyer wets her pants in the light show therapy with Dr. Wallace is a direct nod to Stephen King's short story, when Lester Billings wets himself after seeing the boogeyman right at the end of his tale. I'm not sure why they changed that to the daughter. Like, I think it would have been way more powerful for a grown-ass man to do that in front of another grown-ass man. But maybe that's just me. They did, though. They made that choice, and that's the boogeyman we have.
Sure is.
I think it might be an issue of sympathy. If you walk into a man's house and pee on his couch as a grown man, you might be less sympathetic than a little girl who's being forced to face her fears and is utterly traumatized.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think they also just wanted more empathy for that character in that scene, obviously, with Sawyer. But, you know, again, I guess that's something we can debate later on. In the online video that Sadie watches to contact a lost loved one, the medium is the same one the girls contact in Host by Rob Savage. So that's kind of fun. The medium that they talk to in this movie is the medium from Host. And if you haven't seen Host, I do highly recommend Host. If you like found footage type films, Host was very unique in that it capitalized on the Zoom sensation really effectively and brought it into horror. And it was actually pretty damn good. I can see why Rob Savage got more work after doing that feature. Well earned, I would say. I don't know. This is a fact that is indeed listed on IMDb. This isn't a remake of the other Boogeymans, the one from 80s or the one from 2005. So there you go. In case you thought that, you fucking wrong.
But do yourself a favor and check out that original Boogeyman movie, because it's
from 1980.
It's awesome.
Yeah, Uli Lommel knows how to scare you. I agree. Uli Lommel's Boogeyman is pretty good. We thought about doing that one too, but this one's just so much more contemporary, and I figured more people had probably seen it. My hope is that if you're watching this, you'll go check out that older Boogeyman and dig into that a little bit as well.
Yeah, have me back if you want to talk about that one. And I just found out it's got a sequel.
Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know it had a sequel.
Boogeyman 1 and Boogeyman 2 from the 80s, and I'd definitely come back and talk about those.
That'd be fun. We're having you back regardless, so if that's what you want to do, but you know, we'll see. We're gonna figure out our schedule some other time. Then there's some interesting quotes from Rob Savage. He did quite a few interviews about this movie, as you would expect. One thing he talked about was that they were inspired by Pennywise from Stephen King's It, obviously, which was for a very long time the highest grossing horror film pretty much in history. I think right there with The Exorcist. And they wanted to take it in a different direction, whereas Pennywise's gig is to like sort of make a version of whatever you're most afraid of and try to scare you with it. The Boogeyman doesn't try to hide what it is. It just tries to lure you into its realm. And then once you see it, it's more predatory and animalistic. And he really wanted to lean into that animalistic nature of this ancient creature that's been around since forever, or however long Jeff thinks it's been around. He's done much more research than us, so we will defer to him on that later on.
Yeah, I did just watch one movie, so
yeah. I've watched several, but not nearly as much research as Jeff. And another fun fact, this is the Boogeyman also makes lots of appearances in Stephen King's work. One of the other most notable ones is the show The Outsider, which was also recently developed by HBO in recent years. I don't remember the exact year of The Outsider, but definitely recommend watching that show as well. It's quite good. And it's kind of a mix between a typical skin changer creature, but at the end, you know, they kind of reveal that it's also a take on the Boogeyman. So a creature that's been around this long is going to have lots of iterations upon its character and its form and where it comes from and what it represents. And this movie, like, all contemporary work, is another take on that you never know what's going to survive. Maybe it will be this movie. Who knows? Fun fact here, the Boogeyman's head was originally going to be composed of human bones in odd arrangements. So that's kind of a fun idea. It was just going to be a bunch of bones kind of mangled together and mashed together that opened to reveal a face. And the creature designer that came up with that idea, it ended up being a bit too complex to pull off with the level of practical effects they wanted to use. However, the creature design from Houston Sharp still remained in terms of the spider body and all the other fun things that Jeremy brought up. So they kept all the creature design stuff that they could from Robert, but they did get rid of the mangled bone face because that was just a little too hard to pull off. And that's going to do it for my facts for right now. Jeff, do you have any fun fermented facts? Jeremy, do you have any facts?
I do. So when I was watching this, it was so smack dab in the grief horror milieu that I was like, this feels like it's really milking this idea of the Babadook.
Yep.
And so sometimes when I see the influences on the sleeve of a movie, let's say, I'll go and I'll check the dates. And sometimes I'm surprised. So It Follows and The Babadook both came out in 2014. And Smile came out in 2022. But I was like, I feel like they're reaching for a Pennywise thing here. And It Chapter 1 came out in 2017. So all these movies predate this version of the Boogeyman. And when you look at some of the interviews with the director, all they're talking about is Pennywise. Like, they're obsessed with Pennywise. Pennywise was such an inspiration for this version of the Boogeyman. Which is fine, but, one of the things I was sort of challenging Jeremy with is that this is so obviously, clearly a grief movie, but the Boogeyman is about fear. And it's a short hop, skip, and a jump from grief to fear, but they're not the same thing.
No.
Oh, yes.
And resolving your issues with grief is not the same thing as facing your fear or living fearlessly or overcoming the dark or things like that. Like, they're kissing cousins, but it did feel like, oh, we want to make a movie, a Pennywise type movie about fear, but we're just going to put it in the grief movie box. And I actually really liked this movie, but I thought that was a bit of a misstep.
Interesting. Yeah, and you're totally right about the influences. Savage also speaks to that in some interviews about how when he came in, evidently there was already a script like fully written and developed, and he made a lot of changes to it because he felt it was way too Babadooky, was the way he said. Which, is totally fair. I mean, The Babadook's a fantastic movie, and I think it influenced a lot of modern horror, especially in the psychological realm. Changed the landscape, in my opinion. It is a revolutionary horror movie. But you never want to be too derivative. You want to put your own stamp on something, and especially when you've got the work of Stephen King, and you get to adapt that, you've got everything you need to work with there. I do think there's also, it's pretty evident that a lot of these short stories, and this is common, culminate into larger work and kind of like come out again, these similar themes, these similar creatures. And I think that's true of a lot of King's boogeymen, kind of make some type of an appearance when Pennywise shows up. So yeah, there's a lot of those layers there. Art kind of like recreates itself over and over in a lot of different fashions. But ultimately, I do agree that this movie has something of a conflict of what it's really about or thematically pursuing. But let's we'll talk about that in the panel discussion. I want to talk about like how much does something have to be about its theme, and how much can we talk about, one theme leads to another? Because I do think that certain things like depression make you more vulnerable to things like fear. So think about that while we're on our 5-minute break, and that'd be one of our panel questions.
Yeah, do your homework.
In the meantime, don't enjoy your break. You be thinking on that motherfucker.
No, come on.
I'm going to go get the lawnmower and go cut an acre on my 5-minute break.
There you go. Before we get into what we really thought about the movie, let's talk box office, because we always do that when we have a film and we have those numbers. It's just a fun thing to know whether something was considered a box office success. Now, again, if you haven't seen this on the show before, to be considered a box office success by the industry standard, you have to double your production budget. This movie did that. It actually did just a little bit more than that. And a lot of good movies don't do that. For example, Leslie Vernon, not even close. But it is pretty awesome that this movie managed to, especially considering it wasn't originally going to have a theatrical release at all. And I'm sure that Savage's success with Host and Dashcam were instrumental in getting him this sort of last minute theatrical release. But ultimately, this movie was made for $35 million, and it made $82.3 worldwide.
There you go, man.
Yeah, they crushed it.
It's a modest success.
It is. It's double its budget, with just a little less than going too much further than that, but it's pretty impressive. And I think that the notoriety of the title helped it a lot. I also think it had a really good trailer that was accurate to what the movie was going to do. Like sometimes trailers do sort of a disservice to a movie. They sort of sell it as one thing and then it's another thing. This movie wasn't trying to be, I don't think, anything it wasn't. Now, whether it knew what it wanted to be, or maybe Jeff's argument is that it didn't necessarily stick to the boogeyman thematics that are typically portrayed, I still think it knew what it was trying to do, and I do think it did it. But what do you guys think? Jeff, you get to go first on this because you rolled low, and so we don't know if you actually like this movie or if you actually hated it. Tell us the truth. Are you a lying son of a bitch or just a regular son of a bitch?
I'm a lying son of a bitch, but that goes without saying because I'm a writer. I enjoyed this movie. I went in with low expectations. Just to, on the topic of box office success and things like that. I do remember seeing the trailer and I was like, this is an effective trailer, but it also seems very samey. And that's because trailers are only cut by a small number of trailer houses. And there's certain formulas, especially for horror, that they'll follow with like the same soundtrack, same pacing, same sound effects. And so I was like, I'll probably skip it. And I bet a lot of people never knew this movie came out at all. And I think that is owing to the fact that it wasn't supposed to come out. It was meant to go straight to Hulu. And because we were coming out of the pandemic, there was a shortage of movies. It got a chance to get into the theater, but I don't think they opened up the vaults to be like, oh, we're going to give this proper advertising for like a theatrical release. They're like, we'll just float it out there and just see if we can get a couple, butts and seats. So it probably should have done better than it did, because I think it's a solid movie. Definitely like above par for something going straight to streaming. It's a very effective movie. It's a very lean script. There's some good set pieces. We've got Sophie Thatcher in one of her first roles.
Great acting.
It's so obvious that she's going to be a star.
Yep.
She's so awesome. She really carries the movie because this movie is on her shoulders. She's the one that's battling and running back and forth to try to save her family. She has a little sister that we mentioned named Sawyer. And, it's always a little iffy when you get a child actor as one of your leads. And my God, this little girl was awesome. She was so funny, so emotive. She really anchored the scene she was in. You know, we got to see the boogeyman through her eyes and what she was experiencing. Just top to bottom, really good acting. I really liked it.
Just trying not to die, thanks.
Yeah.
Great line.
Oh my God.
Great line.
So good.
Yeah. Jeremy, you weren't drinking from your infinity bottle, so I assume I know you didn't hate the movie.
Yeah,
it did you really like
shit itself into oblivion, and I did pretty well enjoy this movie. I think, like, there's some weird stuff with the actual writing of the characters. They all seem pretty, like, flat. Like, the writing is being held up pretty well by the strength of the cast. But I mean, there's some disconnect. Maybe it's from being based on something from the 70s and us now living in a world with cell phones and PlayStations and shit.
Right.
But like, I don't know. So some things didn't feel totally natural, and some things did seem to just kind of happen because the writer was like, you know what? I know they said stay in the light, but they're going to wander around into dark rooms for the rest of this movie because I fucking told them to.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Definitely some of that.
And flashlights don't exist.
No. Flashlights don't exist.
Nor do cell phone cameras.
We don't all have one in our pockets.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
It's whatever. I think the movie on the whole was kind of there to just sort of show off this like really interesting creature. I think, you know, going into it as I did, totally divorced from like boogeyman lore and like what the story should be in general, I thought the monster was cool and fascinating, and who knows, maybe like a boogeyman. I don't know. Like hearing the talk about like, oh, it's not about fear. I'm like, yeah, well, the movie's not about fear, and I have my own theories as to the monster biology because, of course, I do want to try to best this monster should I come across it.
Naturally.
We can probably get into that later, but yeah, the movie tells you so much about what to do and what not to do when confronting this monster, and it's great. And I'm sure it was like, I don't know, man. One thing sticks out to me, and I'm struggling to think whether it's a positive or a negative, but the Billings lady, she's been dealing with this monster for years.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, she's just like, I think I figured out the monster's weakness. We just have to shoot it a lot.
I mean, how did she not think of that far sooner?
It's incredible.
I think the problem is
this is America. Go get a machine gun.
Is always sticking to the shadows, and she had like a shotgun, maybe with like 5 rounds in it or something. And she was like, you know what? If I could rig this whole room with tripwires and shotgun shells, and I was like, fuck yes, I am in. That's awesome. I need more movies with shotgun traps in it. Unfortunately, the boogeyman eats buckshot for breakfast.
Yeah, apparently that's just fine. She's like, eat lead, you son of a bitch. And I'm like, oh, wow, I guess it eats lead. Shit.
Yeah. The boogeyman was like, don't mind if I do.
Got any more?
Yep.
Why are you giving it to me in pellets? Give me some real lead.
So it was kind of weird, though, because of the rot, the black mold that was spreading from place to place, the way the boogeyman could manifest out of shadows and darkness, the way it could pick up on your fears and your grief or mimic voices. It seemed like it was straddling the line of physical creature that you can hurt that's actually there and some kind of metaphorical, metaphysical, interdimensional creature. but also, you know, having to do with grief or fear. It's trying to like break you down psychologically so it can feed on your soul, but sometimes it'll just kill you or kill your baby. So like, what is it? Is it a physical threat? Is it a psychic threat? Is it a spiritual threat? Is it a gross spider wolf? Or is it this outsider interdimensional Pennywise thing? And I feel like, you know, if you look at the trivia or some of the interviews, they just couldn't land on a thing.
Yep.
Like the original script, it seemed, was very vague, wide open, and the director had very strong opinions about how he wanted to do a spin on Pennywise. And they wanted to do practical effects, but they couldn't figure out what the boogeyman was and what it did until the last second, and which is why they had to go all CGI. And it looks cool. It's a super cool design, but it does feel like there was no cohesive vision from script to director.
Yeah, there's definitely like some disconnect going on in the movie as a whole, I think. And it sounds like, I think that is got to be a product of the times for sure. Like you spoke to that. But I think 2023 was definitely a time where it was a weird time post-COVID. Like 2022 was like, okay, we're officially starting to take masks off and stuff. And then 2023 was almost this period of time where it was like, okay, COVID's over, fucking get over it. And it was like everybody kind of like had to go into this weird zone of like, okay, are we kind of just pretending that didn't happen? Is that what we're doing?
Yes, that's exactly what we're doing.
It kind of felt like that's what we were doing, but it was like, yeah, it did happen though. Like, and this industry's kind of got exploded, and we're all trying to pick up the pieces together here. Like literally, there's not enough theatrical releases scheduled that I get to theatrical release this straight to Hulu movie. So like, that's where we're at. And it sounds like the scriptwriters and the directors like didn't really meet beforehand. They already had a full script. The director came in and was like, I'm gonna do this. And they were like, okay. And then there was a whole bunch of weird shit going on. And all the while, like you said, they're adapting a movie from, or a short story from the 70s by Stephen King. And I don't know, Jeff, did you find any evidence on how Stephen King feels about this movie?
One of the things I saw in the research was that there was a previous iteration that is actually referenced in 2023's The Boogeyman, which was this sort of super low budget indie short film that someone made based on it back in the day when Stephen King used to license the rights to all of his stories for $1.
Yep.
And he was just saying, just go make stuff. Like, go for it.
Awesome.
Run wild.
Friggin' do it, man.
Yeah. Super cool.
Super cool.
And so that version of The Boogeyman is on YouTube. You can check it out. It's pretty cool. It shows its budget, but even going back to the original Stephen King story, I wanted to reread it, but I don't have a physical copy of Skeleton Crew anymore. But what I recall is that Lester Billings, the main character, he walks into a therapist's office, sits down, tells his tale, and then, surprise, the therapist is the boogeyman in disguise. That's it. It's like a two-man play with like monologues, basically. So this movie has almost no connection with that at all.
Yeah.
I mean, they really made it out of whole cloth, which is fine, because how else are you going to get a movie out of, a very short story? So I think they did a good job, and I think they honored the source material, but I don't think it really affected the way, the feel of the movie or anything like that. Lester came onto screen in the beginning. It was so resonant, or it was such an echo of The Sixth Sense,
Yeah.
Where a disturbed patient shows up inside the house of a therapist and then kills himself. And that's the inciting incident. Like almost beat for beat. It's the same thing that happens with this version of the Boogeyman.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and I don't know. I would say the inciting incident is still kind of like the death of the first kid, which is Lester Billings' kid. If we're going by like typical plot structure, I guess, but like this is where it actually gets interesting for our main characters. That's more like the classic horror thing that it's like, this is coming. And then it's like, okay, care about these people now.
It was a prologue, almost like a cold open pre-title thing.
Yeah,
where
exactly.
You see Lester's child in the crib, Boogeyman comes out and murders the child, and you're like, okay, this is a monster that's like physically killing people. And they're like, actually, no, we're going to drop you right into a grieving family who like they're disconnected and they're struggling to deal with grief. And then Lester comes into the situation, and by then you're already confused. You're like, is this Lester's story, or is this Sophie's family's story? Is this about grief, or is this about a monster that's physically torturing and killing people? And even that connection, I was like, is this happening at the same time? Is this the same house? Like, they just throw you into this grieving family so fast that it was a bit disorienting.
Yeah, that's true. You don't even know. I mean, you can see the pictures on the mantle and stuff, so there's that. But aside from that, because you don't even know like who that kid was or what the relationship will be to the other family, and they're clearly like grieving the death of somebody. So for a little tiny bit when I first watched this, I was like, were they like related to that kid, or like what is going on?
Their kid?
And then it was
like
just a totally other kid, turns out.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, the more you guys talk about like what the source material is, the more divorced it feels like to me it is. Because like this version,
the source material is
of
one scene in this movie.
Yeah, like this Boogeyman here in this movie could not at any point impersonate anyone's therapist.
No,
not for like a whole hour-long session.
No, only if the door was still closed and it was like, hey, can I come in? And he'd be like, yeah, come on
this
in.
Thing is straight up
Put your paperwork under the door.
Yeah. Did you fill out your intake?
or like it's Zoom therapy, but they have their camera off.
There you go. Yeah.
And they're like, there's a lot of crunching and gurgling on your end. How's your internet? Don't worry about it. Tell me about your mother.
This specific creature can perfectly mimic human speech, but can't say things it hasn't heard before. And it can't even seem to say things it hasn't, it can't even seem to use words with any voice it hasn't heard use those words.
Yeah.
Like, it's very specific about what it can and can't do. So, like, trying to be a therapist is just fully out of the question for this thing. But hanging a dude in a closet, that it could probably do.
It clearly could.
When it was
canonically,
like,
it did that.
The strings out of Sophie, like black strings came out of her eyes, nose, and mouth, because that's where the soul comes out, obviously.
True.
Maybe it took one of those strings and fashioned a garrote and hung Lester up on the closet door. I don't know.
Hey, I don't know. It doesn't really matter, does it?
Doesn't
Lester's
really matter.
Fucking dead. Moving on.
Everything and nothing.
Lester's gone, bro. Yeah. You gotta let him go.
Lester's essentially just there to traumatize our main characters a bit more. And let's keep it moving. And I don't think that Lester's death was nearly as traumatizing, frankly, as spilling that disgusting shit all over that dress, whatever that shit was supposed to be.
I think it was old yogurt.
It looked like yogurt or like a bad soup. Like, what is happening here?
There was maybe a sandwich in that bag once.
So we know that Sophie was keeping her deceased mother's old text messages. I wonder if she was keeping the old bag lunch.
Gross,
and like every day she went to school, she just brought that old yogurt and that old soup and that
that's
old
just the
sandwich.
last lunch my mom backed me.
That hallway has to smell like a fucking nightmare.
Well, it's a high school.
God. Well, it did.
Jeremy,
it did already.
Jeremy pointed out that the main character's high school frenemy, is one of the great turbo bullies.
Just the worst.
Is just absolutely sociopathic to the point when she invites her friends over to her house and is like, I'm ready to break out of my shell and start socializing again. And they're like, do you know what would be really cool? If you went into the closet where that stranger hung himself, that child murderer hung himself, and she's like,
and then we locked you in there.
Yeah, okay.
So we just lock you in there.
And
God.
Which is also your dead mom's studio. Just huck that on top.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, they were painting with a broad brush, and God bless them, because I love a turbo bully more than anything. Just someone who is unlike anyone you've ever met. Just the wildest teenage narcissist sociopath. Fantastic.
Yeah, Rob Savage, who hurt you?
Yes.
Rob Savage, you savage.
Yeah, no,
savage,
it's Rob.
No notes.
Nah.
This guy knows how to bully.
Yeah, I mean, if
maybe
it's
Rob
the
Savage was
boogeyman
that bully.
and that girl that was in their friend group, I'll take the boogeyman every time, because that girl was a fucking monster.
Absolutely.
Ooh, yeah.
Give me the boogeyman all day. At least I can.
You
shine
can't
a
kill that
flashlight
with
in his
fire.
face.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I would have liked to see him try.
Yeah.
I would have liked to see him try. She was the worst. And we're about at our 5-minute break spot. I haven't said what I think, but I've been saying it over the course of this conversation. Ultimately, I actually quite like this movie. I thought it was way scarier than I expected. Like you said, Jeff, I went in with very low expectations, especially from the trailer. For me, actually, the trailer was a disservice. I think it put butts in seats. But to me, it made it look like a very run-of-the-mill, this is going to be a Insidious Babadook It knockoff. Like all the movies that you brought up, I was like, okay, this is a movie that wishes it was all those good versions of this movie and is going to be worse than even the bad movies of versions of this movie. But it actually was pretty scary, and the acting was so compelling that it didn't matter how disjointed the like story structure was, which was definitely disjointed. But ultimately, I didn't really care because I was convinced by all the performances. I was convinced that the emotions on the screen were real. And if you can do that, like, you'll usually win me over in a movie, no matter. Because, like, honestly, there's some movies that are like, they have brilliant dialogue and brilliant lines. And it's like, yeah, I'm going to remember that line. I'm going to write that down. Like a Coen Brothers movie or something. But like, if it's not that, then most movies, you know, fall somewhere in between, in the kind of like, you know, default to the mean. And what really makes them rise above the crop is the acting, is the performances, is all the other aspects that bring a film to life. And this film also, I love a film with good lighting. Like I'm a light geek. I worked in lighting for a long time in the film industry, and I love when films let the light crew play. And this movie really did do that. Like they clearly were, their gaffer was like Rob Savage's boy or something, and he was like, yeah, you go nuts, buddy. Like, and they did. Like, that ball was a great gag. Like, I don't know where they got that thing. I wish I'd have had that thing as a kid, but that light ball was pretty cool. It is ridiculous. Like, go to REI, bro, and buy a headlamp. Like, what are we doing? Buy 4 of those fuckers and put one on each side of your head. Boogeyman defeated. Problem solved. Like,
get a couple solar powered lamps.
But we'll talk about that. That's a question.
This movie was designed around the interplay of light and dark. This is a creature of the dark. They picked like a key light or a key color or a key light source for so many sequences, and it looks gorgeous. And when you have great lighting, great sound design, and great performances, it's going to be a good time, and it's really going to service the horror, even if the script was, maybe not all the way there. I mean, it's a good time. I recommend it.
Yeah, and it was
the filmmaking, the craft of everything is top tier.
Yeah. And like, frankly, no story, no movie, whatever is ever going to be good at everything. Everybody has their skill set, and like the things that you're best at are the things that are going to elevate your piece of art. Like there's certainly plenty of things in anything I've written, or you, Jeff, or you, Jeremy, that, if you go into it and you're like a really big fan of this particular element of story, like for me, it's probably like setting description. My stuff might not be your bag. Like I'm pretty minimalist and I really focus in on characters. But if you like character work, then you probably like my shit. And I would say from what I've read of you, Jeff, your stuff is kind of in a similar vein, very character centric. Whereas, a mentor of mine, Richard Thomas, is a major maximalist, and he sits there and spends like hours, or pages anyway, it feels like hours to me, like describing the world and all these intricacies of the creature and anatomy and shit like that. He's a big Jeff Vandermeer geek, and I love Jeff Vandermeer and Richard Thomas, but that's just not how I write. It's not my strength. So like you can see that Rob Savage is certainly really good behind the camera. He's really good at working with a forced minimalist perspective. And even though this movie breaks him from the really forced perspective of Host or Dash Cam, which are literally like single lens, like forced perspective movies where you're like on a webcam or you're on a dash cam. Like he was doing that shit very minimalistic. This is a movie where he goes into the full realm. He's got the full 360. He's doing the whole with a full crew. And you can see, though, that he's still really good at forcing that perspective, even if he lets you have the whole world. And he, like you were saying, Jeff, he focuses on a focal point. He focuses on a corner or a one light source, and he uses that to make the world feel claustrophobic and scary. And he's good at it. So I think that strength came out, and you could still see the evidence of the film he's excelled in before, and this different style that kind of propelled him to this place, coming into a completely different kind of movie. And that to me is really cool. So I think that was maybe my favorite element of it personally.
Yeah.
I don't know what you guys think about
Beautiful
that.
To watch. It's a ride. If you just go on this ride, you're going to have a good time. And there's some legitimate spooky moments.
Yeah. If you like horror, you'll like it.
Mm-hmm. I think, you're absolutely right. Not everything can be great at everything. This movie is great at tons of things, although I actually disagree. Something can be great at everything, and that is, of course, Speed Racer. But that is...
No.
Different genre.
Bro. Yeah, it is. Just be cool.
The day that the horror version of Speed Racer comes out, pack it up. No more debates, no more dice.
Pack it in.
That's a wrap.
It's over.
Yeah. That'll be our season finale next year, and that'll be The Last of Us. Y'all will be relieved of duty, fermented folks. But until then, we're only going to give you 5 minutes off instead of an entire lifetime, because we got to go relieve ourselves of certain duties, like holding our bladders together at the seams. All right. We're going to play this video. Everybody turn off your cameras. Turn off your mics. We'll be back in 5 minutes. Fermented folks, thanks for joining us. See you on the other side. Hello, Fermented folks. Welcome to another episode of Fermented Fiction, the first of our new season, and I believe it's season 4, the show where we drink beer and argue with each other and bring on really awesome creative guests.
If you'll permit me to go a little bit outside the box. Once upon a time, apparently people used to sniff mummy remains, powdered mummy remains like cocaine. So I think 3 lines of powdered mummy remains, if you can get to that as well. Yeah, that'll get you right to really enjoy the movie,
Dave told us all about making a mead, and I talk shit about Tom Bombadil, as I am wont to do whenever people bring up Lord of the Rings.
You would. You should.
And then that's
everybody
exactly what he made.
Chill about Tom Bombadil, or I'll get unreasonably upset.
So, in your assessment, what did you think of the everyone kind of paired off, or at least a number of people did, romantically? How'd you feel about that? Did that seem really forced and dumb to you, or?
Tom Bombadil is a merry old fellow with his bright blue jacket and his boots are yellow. Right?
His boots are yellow.
Right.
Imagine discovering mummy remains and oh my god, these ancient figures. Dude, what if we crushed this and snorted it, yo? I bet we'd get fucked up.
Let's talk for a moment about the fucking all-star cast in this movie. We have Ewan McGregor slaughtering it the entire time, main character energy, top to bottom. You can't argue with it. Women want him, men want him, everybody wants Ewan McGregor. Okay? If you don't agree with that, you're lying to yourself.
Apparently she had a backstory, but they cut it because she's very hard-nosed at the beginning. And then I will say another pro of this movie is their chemistry is hot. And I feel if they didn't have that chemistry, I would have been ugh. Because she says at one point, she's oh, it's the apocalypse. What are we going to do? Fuck. And he's and then later when they are kissing, if they didn't have chemistry and if it was two lesser actors, I think it would have been an eye roll, felt cheesy, but you feel their bond.
The Langoliers themselves were originally going to be portrayed by puppets. And I think maybe they should have. Maybe they should have.
Dude, that's amazing.
There's no maybe about that.
And I wish that I could say that there was something greater happening here than the war diary of a broken man living as sort of this White Tower academic with all of his friends sitting inside the Eagle and Child drinking beer and pretending Magic Lion Jesus isn't really silly. Because, it is. If we can just all be very honest with each other.
The Lord's work out there. Good job.
I like to think that I am. Most people aren't big enough, but I am. I'm willing to step up,
Yeah. Dedicate that time. You're willing to dedicate that time.
The time, the money, all of it.
That was so painful. It's one of those painful things.
Oh, that was so
good.
That was so good. We've never been so savagely attacked by any author on their show. It's incredible. Yeah, guys. You hitting those buttons? Come on, hit those buttons. No, you want to hit those buttons. Oh yeah. Hit them.
You know where they are.
If you don't hit them hard enough, I'm probably not even gonna go off on monster biology here in a minute.
Yeah, come on. You don't want that.
I'm still gonna go off on it, but the wind will be all the way out of my sails when I do.
Not on the show, yeah.
Yeah,
it'll be on the show too. I'll just be sadder.
Sad boy summer.
Hey, sad Jeremy isn't the Jeremy anyone wants on the air.
That's right. Yeah. Nobody wants a sad Jeremy. It's like a skinny Santa.
Right.
It's like an upset teddy bear. You don't. No. Come on, guys.
Well said, Jeremy.
A Teddy Ruxpin with sad music plugged into his chest.
Yeah.
I do love this idea of just a Indy Navarrete frowny face from Session teddy bear. Just a super sad teddy bear that's the fuck? Can you imagine giving that to a kid? It'd be that scene in Smile with the dead cat. Just here you go, kid. Enjoy that gift I got you.
Just some nightmarish cross between Paddington Bear and Marvin the android.
Nobody needs that. Minutes without a reference to Hitchhiker's Guide, 0.
We're back to 0, folks.
Yeah. We'll probably go back yet again. Okay. Let's start with something that we already kind of all explored, but just to get it out of the way, just to get it done, and just to make sure everybody's safe out there, because unless you didn't like, comment, and subscribe, then fuck you. Turn it off right now. You don't get this free advice.
Get fucked.
This is preparing you for the worst situation of your life, and it is for subscribers. Damn it! All right, so that and get out of here.
Get on now.
Yeah, you go on, get now. Now for everybody else, all you subscribers, thank you, y'all. No, we appreciate you. How would you, Jeff C. Carter, Boogeyman scholar, defeat the Boogeyman in this movie, or just across all of history of the Boogeyman? What would be your tactics? And then me and Jeremy will go.
So in this movie in particular, the Boogeyman is trying to destabilize you psychologically. It's trying to break down your mental defenses with grief and fear so that it can then suck your soul strings out through your eyes, nose, and ears.
Sure.
So, I mean, your results may vary, but see a psychopharmacist, get on some really strong mood stabilizing meds, and I think you're good.
Sure.
If you want an extra layer of protection,
just smoke hella weed.
Smoke hella weed. You can paint your walls in like day glow in the dark paint. Get some black lights up. Definitely get some lights going in your closets and under your bed. Get some ground effects going for your bed, like it's a sweet car.
Like your bed is just in Tokyo Drift.
Yeah,
this is
Tokyo,
the bed that
you Tokyo Drift in that bed, dog.
Tokyo Drift that bed, bro.
Get a race car bed. Get the ground effects. Tokyo Drift. You're fucking set.
I want that.
Yeah. And then, light is so cheap and prevalent. If this movie was made during like the 1700s, when you're like, oh no, I'm low on rations of whale oil, how will I ever keep the light burning through the night? Like, no, you're pretty good. It's the 2020s. LEDs are extremely energy efficient.
Yeah.
Just get a little coin battery, get a couple of LEDs. You are literally safe from the Boogeyman.
So safe.
When in doubt, string up your halls with shotgun traps, shotgun shells mounted in all directions. Get a flamethrower going.
Sure.
Get your mom's old zipper and get her old blunts out of rotation. That's another,
teeth out.
Yeah. Hey, you were staying, stay high. That was one of the messages in this movie.
Yeah.
Sure. Smoke weed every day, like Snoop told you to. And
more weed
like
is
more
more
lit.
weed.
Get both physically and mentally lit, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
I mean, because there's no reason you can't just like pop on a face mask and go to sleep, like one of those airplane, just like, and but leave your room just lit as fuck on LEDs, and have a generator just in case that thing learns to kick off the breaker or whatever.
Get glow sticks, have chemical sources of light. There's all sorts of things you can do.
You can do so many things.
Move up to the Arctic Circle where you've got light for like 20 hours a day.
Yeah, it's like a reverse 30 days of night.
That's right.
Absolute nightmare.
30 days of light.
30 days of light.
Hell suck it, Boogeyman.
Suck it, Boogeyman. You can't get me.
Suck
no matter how
that
sounds
I am. Terrible. That's maybe hell.
Maybe there is probably constant light in hell because of all the fire and lava and shit, I would assume.
Or ice, depending on your interpretation.
But even, even that little light hits your ice, it's pretty bright.
That's a more,
you out there. That is.
Isn't it?
You know what I'd do? I would just, if that guy's coming for you, just have 4 fucking headlamps. Like I said, go to REI. You can pick this up for $100, $25 a pop. Put one on each side and one here. You could even kind of like put them all on one thicker headband that's a little more comfortable. Just pop that thing on, turn them all on. You've got light going in all directions. You got like 320 lumens from each of them. You're going to be fine. Like, he wouldn't stand a chance.
If you got some like some jerseys or some shirts or some vests, some construction worker vests.
Yeah, like a reflector
kick
vest.
off reflectors, get bike reflectors on your walls and ceilings. Like
that's
a wrap. You're good. You're good.
Rig it, dude.
Jeremy.
And now, hey, I think the light advice is pretty good as kind of like a temporary solution. Now, I observed many things and ascertained a lot of this beast's behaviors from watching this movie and sort of dissecting, what I was presented with. And, I have a few things to say, and it'll kind of inform how we defeat this beast going forward, I think. Sure. Now, first of all, it does appear that this beast is not usually going for the kill. Now, it looks like
to play with its food.
Well, it's not even a playing with its food thing, because it's not eating the people. It's eating something from inside the people, which plays into what it's kind of looking for and why it gravitates toward the people it does. Now, it does, of course, dislike the light, but it is not, at least according to this movie, is not obviously hurt or impaired by it. It's not blinded by the light. It doesn't burn it or anything. It just doesn't like it, which leads into
it doesn't kill it like a vampire where it lights it on fire, like in Let the Right One In that we talked about a couple weeks ago or last week, where you literally light on fire with the sun. It doesn't do that.
Yeah. And so what it seems to be happening is it appears to feed on something produced by the human body when it is in an acute state of grief or despair. Now, when you're in that sort of state, it is similar to a state of fear, in which case your body is producing cortisol and adrenaline, which is why it is drawn to people who are afraid as well as people who are grieving. But when it comes to somebody who is just afraid, it kills them because because that person doesn't have the thing that it's looking to feed on, which I am pretty sure are cytokines, which is produced within the body. When you are in that acute grief state, it kind of boosts your immune system very temporarily while you're in that grief state. So you can actually heal faster from injuries while you are in the first few months of grieving, and then your immune system totally tanks.
Sure.
After that, from being on high
the coffee crash.
Yeah, it's that. Yeah. So I think that's what it seems to be feeding on, which is, I think, why it doesn't want you to see it. Because if you see it, you're going to be freaked out. You're going to go from grief to afraid real quick. And then it can't eat what you got going on. So there are, I think, two ways to kind of get around that, kind of live with it. I think we can brush past the thing where it is a potentially fungal beast or utilizes some kind of mycelium network growing mold throughout the house which it inhabits. Seems neither here nor there. Maybe it's just
that seemed to almost just be that's a neat set design and we need to find a way to show this thing's been here a long time. I don't know. That was a little bit Stranger Things to me, where it was just this is neat.
I think it's just nesting,
Or the idea that
I guess
it's a slow corruption that's creeping into the neglected corners of this house.
Right.
Exactly. So it's just a wet boy needs a
wet sad boy.
Wet sad boy.
Such a wet
cigarette.
So
boy.
Wet, so sad. That's good. So
anyway, Timothy Chalamet of monsters.
To deal with this, you either to survive this creature, you either need to be in a constant state of super grief, so that it doesn't feel the need to kill you, because you're a meal ticket at that point. You just gotta be extra sad all the time. Or you exploit its natural the allergy we see exploited in the film. It does have it is deathly allergic to being burned alive.
Sure.
So,
pretty common.
So yeah, if you happen to just burn your own house down and in so doing come to terms with your grief as a family, that's going to be great. It's metaphors and shit.
Yeah,
right?
Best outcome, burn your house down as a family activity, kind of bond around that and be like, you know what?
Yeah.
We have fun, don't we?
Yeah.
As you flee your burning house and
Exactly.
succumb to smoke inhalation.
Yeah.
So, counter proposal, fill a dog bowl with cytokines that you can generate from a lab. Lure Boogeyman out to lap of those sweet cytokines or whatever chemicals that it's getting out of these heightened states of grief, anxiety, fear, and then hit it with a flamethrower. And look, times are tight. Money's scarce.
Yep.
You could just do like they do. Can of bug spray, can of hairspray, lighter. You got yourself a flamethrower.
You got yourself a trailer park flamethrower, baby.
You could lure it out with your saddest boy, right?
Whichever boy's the saddest.
Yeah.
Just put him out there and just have it come on out. Yeah.
It'll be good, man.
So, like we were saying, and like the director says in interviews, it is both an interdimensional entity a la Pennywise, and it is also a physical thing. So unlike Pennywise that will create sort of psychic manifestations of your worst fear, while its real body is hidden far, far away, this boogeyman is both. So it's trying to scare you. It's sneaking around in the dark. It's throwing its voice. It's trying to lure you out of safety and comfort. But it's really there in the room with you, and it can be hurt. And it was an interesting design. You know, Billingsley, the character that comes in, played by David Dalsmashian, he has drawn, or one of his kids has drawn this thing that's like this. They call it a shadow monster. It kind of looks like a spider. And the idea was it would have the movements of a spider, or it would slink around like a wolf. Thinking back to prehistoric times when early man was huddled around a campfire and there would be something slinking around, some kind of predator in this primal darkness. And I kind of wish they stayed with that idea because it's really interesting. You know, it is spider, it is wolf, it is raptor, it is everything we primates are afraid of. And instead it was more of, you know, this spindly monkey spider that was there to feed on grief and or fear, whatever you got. Sad boys, you know, come one, come all.
Sad boys.
Yeah.
Well, while we're there, Jeff, let's transition into another question I have, which does a movie have to have only one prevailing theme, or can one theme kind of lead to another? Jeremy brought up an interesting, like, scientifical, biological argument for this, that, like, the chemicals created by depression can make you more vulnerable to a fear monster. I also think we could argue that on an emotional level or a spiritual level. So what do you think? I mean, the boogeyman traditionally, and I'd also like at some point for you to just give us a brief kind of rundown of some of the stuff you've learned along your journey of researching this from a very like nonfiction perspective. But what do you think about the boogeyman as a monster that traditionally has sort of represented fear itself? It has traditionally represented that thing beyond the light's reach. that we can't see, that we can't comprehend. It's been the monster under the bed. It's been the creature, the thing in the closet, the thing in the corner of the room that when you turn on the light, it's actually a coat rack, but it wasn't a coat rack. I was afraid of it. It was really there. That's kind of what the boogeyman, at least to me, has always represented. So can this movie be both, or does a movie have to have one solid theme to stand up in a narrative perspective?
I think horror is ideally suited to tackle issues like grief, like fear, like despair, rage, rejection, abjection, all of these horrible negative human experiences. And you can explore all of it in the space of a horror story or a horror movie. I think where it gets a little tricky is when you go for a very singular metaphor. And you're saying the monster is X. And then when you're like, well, the monster is X and Y. And then it starts to get a little shaky. Whereas, just for instance, if we were to reach for a horror movie like Hereditary, you have the full suite of negative emotions on display. About every terrible thing a family can experience happens to them in Hereditary, but no one is saying the monster is X. This is the metaphor, and we're going to hit you over the head with that. And until you resolve this one thing, you're vulnerable to the monster. And I think that's where it gets a little muddled. Whereas something like The Babadook was grief.
That's a grief movie. Very definitively.
It kicked off this renaissance of grief movies, and monster equals grief. And, I think we've sort of circled this point enough times this evening that I'm not going to belabor it. But, to answer your question, in summary, yes, a horror movie can and should tackle all of these issues. I think where this sort of stumbles is when you get into the metaphor aspect.
And do you think that's because they invoked the name of the boogeyman specifically? And that to you as a boogeyman scholar, it invokes that idea that has resonated with it forever of it being fear incarnate, basically. And that's why you feel like it becomes not a grief movie? Because I personally don't think that anything else about this movie really says it's not a grief movie. So to me, it feels like your beef with it is almost that it invoked the boogeyman. I'm not challenging you as a person or anything. I'm wondering.
No, you're not wrong. But the idea that these characters are isolated and there's all these sequences where they're being harassed and harrowed and frightened, and this creature seems to be feeding on or stoking their fear, when in reality they have a different other larger issue, which is that they need to come to terms with grief and come together as a family. And I feel like perhaps in a novella, this would work. This idea that the primal wound is the loss of the mother, the family has fractured, and now that they're all on their own, they can be seasoned by this monster and picked off one by one. And until they learn to reach out, connect, communicate, heal, grieve, then the monster will lose its power and they're stronger together. But in sort of the thrust of a movie that tries to go from A to B, it kind of gets lost along the way. I mean, we even said with that prologue, it's like, wait, is this a monster that sneaks in and literally murders your baby in the crib? Or is this a family that is trying to move past the fact that they're grieving their mother?
Yeah, and I do think it lacks that cohesion on some level. Like an example of the movie you are talking that like did do the baby killing thing very effectively was like The Witch. Like that's a movie where it's like, yeah, this is a monster that kills your baby. it's a witch. Like, it kills babies and uses them to stay young, and that's because it's sold to Satan, and Thomason's going to do the same thing. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen The Witch yet. But yeah, that's a good point. I do think that disjointed nature. Jeremy, you look like you had something to say.
Now look, I'm going to preface this by saying that I don't try to be contrarian on this show. I don't set out to do that. I just also happen to have very specific opinions about things. So the first thing
you don't have to try to be who you are, brother.
Yeah,
you just are.
I'm just going to do it.
You just
gonna
are
be
contrarian.
Hey guys, I'm just going to be. I'm not contrarian. I believe things, and sometimes
what a contrarian would say is, "I'm not a contrarian."
You literally were contrarian to me calling you contrarian.
Yeah. You're never beating the allegations, Jeremy. I'm sorry.
Very well. So the first thing I'm going to say is fuck Hereditary. Just to absolutely fuck that movie in its face. Yeah,
that's fair.
That's fine. That's fine. And we'll move on to that. But like, I
think it's a little overrated, so I feel you.
There you go. Hey, good job. Now, what I do think, especially about this, maybe it's because I am just totally divorced from Boogeyman lore. Like this, I don't feel this sort of disconnect between what we're seeing and the Boogeyman and the story that's trying to be told. Like this does feel very specifically like a story about grief. Now, if the Boogeyman is traditionally supposed to be a representation of like fear and what you are not seeing in the dark, but what you are afraid is there, then yeah, this isn't that. But like especially if you're trying to invoke that with a monster, the monster's behavior does have to tell that story, and this monster does not tell that story. And if that means that it shouldn't be a boogeyman, then yeah, it shouldn't be a boogeyman. This monster, it seems to be some kind of mindless animal specifically tailored to telling a grief story. Like, it doesn't, like, it kills off the fearful, but it makes people who are grieving just suffer longer. And it doesn't even seem to like want to kill them. It just wants to feed off that. And then once they're done, just boom, gone. Like, even the kid that gets killed in the very beginning, like when you find out Lester Billings' story, like, oh, the first kid died of like SIDS, and that's terrible, but like that's not something that like an infant, like a different child that's too young to really understand that they even had a sibling, is going to grieve. But they are going to be freaked the fuck out by a giant wolf spider psychic parrot son of a bitch in the corner of the room.
Yeah.
And yeah, that monster's going to kill the shit out of that kid because they ain't getting no food out of that.
Right.
Yeah.
No, and that's a really good point, Jeremy, because we've brought up other Stephen King iterations, and I brought up The Outsider specifically, but in The Outsider specifically, he literally says the creature feeds off grief, and it does that whole thing. And that is clearly Stephen King's perception of the boogeyman. Now, I don't know where he got that information. Clearly, I very much believe that Stephen King did his research, because he does always do that famously, interviews people and reads a lot. And he is a man who does his research. Now, this story was pretty early in his career, back in the 70s. That's early King. So I don't know if he did his research to the same level when he wrote this, as he did like by the 90s when he was writing other stuff that he's, kind of more famous for. Who knows? But before we get to you, Jeff, usually with these questions, we start with the guest, but I actually want to end with you because you're our resident boogeyman expert. So, Jeremy,
you like no shit and stuff. Hey,
yeah. To you, Jeremy, what is the boogeyman, and what have you always saw when you saw the title Boogeyman and you hadn't seen this movie? What did you go in expecting? What does boogeyman mean to you? And then we're going to get to Jeff on like historically and contextually speaking, what that means as a folkloric figure. And I'll go after you, Jeremy.
Yeah. Hey, so for me personally, I function in this role on this show as sort of an uncultured swine when it comes to
Absolutely.
a lot of
you're all up in Cersei's hut from the Odyssey. Just turn me into that thing. I know what I am.
Bro, you keep talking about the Odyssey, like is gonna we're foreshadowing so good right now.
Tune in.
It's gonna
everybody.
be great.
Season
Tune in
finale.
next week. It's gonna
humble. It's gonna be
it'll change
fun.
your life, or it won't. Yeah.
Even making you bored is changing your life, even if for a short time. So
even if for a short time and not in a positive way.
Let's fucking go.
Let's do it.
Anyway, Jeremy.
Not to get us back on track, but how about we
get
the
boogeyman just a shameless plug? Maybe.
Maybe. Because like I think it is this kind of term within the sphere of pop culture that is so vague as to be meaningless, but like when you attach it to a horror property, it's like this thing of like, oh, this should be scary.
Yeah.
And that's basically all the information you can reasonably glean from that. Like, the boogeyman has been featured in so much shit, like referenced in, say, John Wick, which clumsily mixed up the boogeyman and the Baba Yaga, with two very different things.
Don't matter in John Wick.
But yeah, doesn't matter. John Wick will shoot you whether you know the folklore or not. Shoot you right in your goddamn face. And that's his...
Shoot the Babadook or the Baba Yaga.
Yeah.
Or the boogeyman with the same...
Yeah, he'll shoot the boogeyman until it stops moving. Until its resistance to bullets doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's... Anyway.
Maybe resistant to bullets, but not to John Wick.
But like, anyway, it's been featured from like John Wick to like children's cartoons, like Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. Wild show. Absolutely recommend.
Banger.
So sick. But like, all you know is like, oh, this should be a scary thing. And if so, the only thing I'm even looking for when it comes to something saying like, oh, the boogeyman's here, like, be scary or be about being scared, maybe. Or maybe not. Maybe it's a joke. I don't know. So I think this delivers in that way because it builds tension so well throughout the whole thing, even though the creature's thing is not inherently about fear. It's all about grief, and to me at least, the creature's behavior, its patterns, its modus operandi, whatever the hell that means, it communicates, yes, fear will draw it in, and you're gonna die because of that. But grief is what it's here for.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, the boogeyman just does kind of represent, one of my favorite, let's say, recent iterations of it is maybe like Hill House. I thought that was a great horror show. They did a really, really good job adapting that to film. And the bent neck lady, to me, is a good example of what I think of when I think of the boogeyman. It's the thing that you can only see, the thing that you are terrified of, and the thing that can become a self-fulfilling prophecy, because if you're afraid enough of a thing, there's almost a higher probability that that thing will eventually come for you. Like if the bent neck lady is a perfect example of that. It is literally her seeing her own future projected against herself. And like, eventually we are all going to die. So if what you're afraid of is your own death, Yeah, well, that's gonna happen. So like eventually it's gonna come for you. And it is that thing that only she can see, only she can experience. It is terrifying to her, it is real to her, but to everybody else, it lives in the realm of imagination. And few things can be more scary than that. Like, and I think that's what is so terrifying about the unknown, because even if you venture into the unknown, if you do it alone, nobody will believe you. Like if you can't take them with you and show them, they just fucking won't believe you, because that's how people work. It's unfortunate, but it's true. Like if you can tell people whatever you want, but until they've experienced it, they don't understand it. And that can be a very wide range of things. For example, Jeremy has said on this show many times, all cooks are psychopaths. It's true.
Every last one.
Like, I know this because I worked in a kitchen, but if you've never worked in a kitchen, maybe you don't believe us. But like, just go work in a kitchen for a little bit and you'll understand. And you'll understand why. There's a reason for it. And it's the same reason that like being afraid of the dark is not this illogical fear. In fact, it is the most understandable fear of humankind, because the dark creates the unknown. It takes away your senses, and especially in the primordial sense, if you're in the dark and you're in isolation, like the fear of the dark comes from an ancient time. It comes from the time Jeff is talking about, where we were around the fire, and if it was beyond the fire's reach, which if you've ever been around a campfire is not as far as you think. It is not as far as the movies make it look like it is. It's not very far at all. It's essentially just the faces that you can see right in front of you. And if the firelight doesn't reach beyond that, like if you're in a dark forest and there's no light pollution, dark is a very powerful, powerful thing. And
it turns out lighters are not that bright.
Not even at all. Like if you've ever tried to use a lighter for actual light, you know what? I encourage y'all to try it. Like go outside somewhere where there's no light pollution if you can. So like rent an Airbnb that's in the woods a little bit and go outside with a lighter and just see how you actually do. It's like so I took a class from the aforementioned Richard Thomas, and one of our books of study was Bird Box. And that's a great study in like sensory horror, like taking away your sight and seeing what that would actually be like. One of our exercises to start off that class was just to try to walk to your mailbox with a blindfold on. And he asked us to all actually do it. And it's great because doing those things actually does really change your perspective on the characters and their experience. I encourage you to do it. It's a fun exercise. If you've ever read Bird Box, just try that and see if you don't have a different view on the characters' experiences. Same thing with a lighter. Like anytime you see in a movie a lighter lit and then the room is bright, like that's such fucking bullshit. Like you can't even light a small room with a lighter. You can lighters don't do shit. No. So like that's not how it works. The dark is all encompassing. The dark is very powerful, and the dark is terrifying. And if you think being scared of the dark is stupid, you're lying to yourself. You're afraid of the dark too. Everybody is. You just have to be in the right circumstances. Go to a school when it's closed and tell me it's not creepy. It is. Like it's creepy. Like go to any place that's public and usually you're used to it being populated and noisy, and then go to it when it's quiet and dark and tell me it's not creepy. You're lying. So to me, that's what the boogeyman represents. It's that like fear within us all of something like that we're used to a certain way. And when you take away the things that make it comfortable, it becomes scary. Because most things kind of are. Like life is scary, and when you put the reality of life before us as humans, most of what we do as humans is separate ourselves from the realities of nature and death and mortality. And like when you force us to face those things in any capacity, it's kind of like to quote the Hitchhiker's Guide, when we start talking, our brains start working. Like that's very true.
We're back to zero.
Let's go.
Yeah.
So Jeff, to you as a boogeyman scholar, how dumb are we, and what is the boogeyman really?
I just want to say that on the topic of darkness, you know, I love all the stuff you're saying, and we were kind of teasing this movie because flashlights didn't seem to exist. Something that I feel very strongly about, which I don't see in a lot of stories or movies, is that flashlights are scarier than the dark. Because as soon as you pop that match, flick that lighter, turn on that flashlight, bye-bye night vision.
Oh, yes.
All you can see is a narrow beam and a tiny spotlight. And you've essentially blinded yourself to everything that is to the side of you and behind you. And now you're tethered to this narrow, pale beam of light or this wavering match. And to me, like, creating a tiny blinding spot in the dark, as opposed to just opening up all of your senses to the dark, is so much scarier. And that is something that I kind of lobby for, this idea that the beam of the flashlight and being tethered to that is scarier than pure darkness.
Yeah.
There is no
I just want to touch on this. I totally agree. And that is such classic human shit. Like, we think this will fix our problem, and we're like, everything we've ever learned or read or seen has told us that it will, so we just continue to do it. And it's like, actually, if we, like, for 10 years or so, like, let ourselves just get better at seeing in the dark, we literally, like, evolve.
Yeah, like, your eyes will adjust within minutes, and I'm going to agree with that 100%, with the one exception of if you have ever tried to poop in pitch blackness, like, you will 100% have an existential crisis if you do that.
Sure.
Boogeyman 2. Let's go.
Boogeyman 2.
That's Boogeyman 2. Boogeyman number 2, if you know what I mean.
Ayo. All right, Jeff, tell us some actual shit.
So on that note, so as far as I know, there's no formal study or review of the boogeyman in folklore. And like Jeremy was saying, it is generic, almost to the point of meaninglessness, except for the fact that there is always that connotation of fear. It's not like boogeyman equals funny or boogeyman equals love. It's like, no matter how generic you get with the term boogeyman, it is held up as a source of fear. And then when I do my talks on folklore, I start with that. I start with the widest, broadest definition. Anything scary technically could be called a boogeyman. And then I like to draw it out into this idea of the cautionary tale. And there's also sort of an age range associated with boogeyman. Things that children are afraid of are more commonly called a boogeyman or a bogey than things that adults are afraid of. And then when you bring in the cautionary tale aspect to it, if you do X, the boogeyman will get you. And that can be, if you don't brush your teeth, the dentist will drill your cavities. So you're creating this fearful figure in the mind of a child to start to guide them and caution them away from certain things. And it could be something very practical, which is don't go to the river at night. Or it could be something very abstract, like if you don't say your prayers at night, you are in spiritual peril and the devil will come and get you. Those are all cautionary tales, and those are all things where we might invoke the boogeyman. My favorite type of boogeyman, just from a folkloric standpoint, is something that has the fingerprints of a culture's values and fears and history wrapped up in these stories. And if you peel back the layers of certain boogeymen, you will find incredible depths of oral history or sort of ancestral memory. One of my favorites that I kind of go to in my talk is during the Third Crusade, Saladin took over Jerusalem, and so they sent in King Richard to fight Saladin. This was a long, long time ago, and it just so happens that King Richard III of England was an absolute bloodthirsty monster. And he decapitated 2,700 soldiers in full view of Saladin's army. And that's one of the things that helped end this crusade. But to this day in the Middle East, they say, go to sleep or King Richard the Lionheart will get you. So there's a lot of fear and ancestral memory and history wrapped up in some of these boogeyman stories. I talk about certain archetypes. The chief among them for me is La Llorona. You know, we talk about the fear of water, but there's dozens and dozens of water-based boogeymen from cultures around the world, because the biggest threat to children since time immemorial was drowning, not being able to swim, fast-moving water, deep water holes, things like that. So you have Jenny Greenteeth, you have Peg Powler, you have La Llorona, all these creatures that are associated with water.
It's life and death.
It's life and death, but the problem is, you know, you want to sit your 9-year-old down and be like, here's a very rational case I'm going to lay out to why you should stay away from the water. You shouldn't chase that paper boat into the stream. You shouldn't try to swim across or wade out or anything like that. And the kid's going to look at you and be like, yeah, that all checks out. And then the second their frisbee or their ball goes into the water or the river or the creek, they're going to forget what you said. They're going to forget that well-reasoned, rational case you laid out, and they're going to run out because kids under the age of 10 don't have fully developed impulse control. They've got imagination and they've got fear, and they've got fear of the unknown. And forever, this is one of the oldest technologies going back to our traditions of oral storytelling, is if you can come up with a story and a figure, it will lodge itself into a child's brain, and that will be the thing that keeps them safe from running into the water, because they're afraid of Jenny Greenteeth. They're afraid of La Llorona. So that keeps them out of the water when you're not around. I got a chance to interview an anthropologist named Dr. McLean Ducliffe, and she went and she embedded herself with the Inuit up at the Arctic Circle. She embedded herself with the Maya down in Latin America, and she even went down to Africa and was living with the Hadsta. And she said all of them tell boogeyman stories. And they always have, because they live in these very challenging, dynamic, dangerous environments where parents and aunties and elders can't always be there to watch out for the kids. But they could install a boogeyman story, and that would always kind of haunt the kids and keep them safe. So it's one of the oldest technologies. It's just sort of a part of being human. And to me, that's sort of what the strength and the power and the fascination with the boogeyman is.
Yeah.
That's fucking awesome. I mean, it speaks to the power of story to alter the human mind in a way that understandable, like logical arguments never can, because the problem with logic is if you feel like you can logically debunk it, then you don't believe it until you are proven otherwise again. And like, again, like your paper boat example was perfect, right? If I can swim and I've swam in this river before, I'm not really scared to swim a little further out into the river. In fact, if I'm a boy who's like daring and thinks I'm tough and thinks I'm strong and like I want to go deeper, actually, I want to see what's out there. Like, and you never gave me a reason to be cautious or afraid of it that I actually do take seriously. I'm going to challenge it. I'm going to push the boundaries. I'm going to swim. And I just think I can. And, you know, having been such a boy my entire life, I know exactly what that is. And you don't know until you know that, like, oh, I fucked up there. I went a little too far there. And then eventually you learn. And if you're lucky, you survive it. And if you're not, then you don't.
Yeah. It's like one of the craziest stories my grandpa ever told me before he died of cancer when I was a child was like, be afraid of undertow. Like, you will almost certainly drown if the undertow gets you. I'm like, oh shit.
Yep.
But then, like, I also do have to bring up my favorite sort of parody of boogeyman lore, which is, of course, Der Kinderlumper from Phineas and Ferb, who will, of course, get you for all sorts of reasons, including but not limited to making some bubbles in the bathtub, having saliva in your mouth, feeling the need to blink your eyeballs, breathing, drinking water, turning your head slightly to the right, or using the bathroom. That Kinderlumper is gonna mess you up, dude.
Yep. So, and that's a great parody of the boogeyman, of just like, there's a boogeyman for everything. Like, don't do this, don't do that.
But it's funny because it hits on a very real topic, which is the boogeyman is no longer in vogue because people are like, no, why don't you sit your child down and explain rationally why they should make good choices? Because the last thing you want to do is have them operating out of fear, because that will create children with very low confidence who will not be able to form personalities and go and test boundaries and go explore their environment. It's the opposite of child development. And so a lot of people point to like instances where children were absolutely terrorized and traumatized by their grandmothers saying the most unhinged shit imaginable.
Yeah.
And when it is like, if you don't say your prayers, the devil's going to drag you to hell at night. Like, that could mess a child up. Whereas if you look at these older traditions that are more like stranger danger, don't go out at night, stay out of the water, things like that, like those are more sensible, that even if you are a bit reticent, you are afraid, it will eventually equip you with the tools to be safe and to explore safely. Up in the Arctic, like I was saying, with the Inuit, it's such a dangerous environment and it's always changing.
Yep.
And
literally.
So they have these figures called the Kalapiluit that are waiting under the thin ice, and they don't grab children and tear them apart and spray their blood across the ice to spread out into a thin red frozen slick. It's nothing as gory as that. What the elders say is that if you go out onto the thin ice, the Kalapiluit will pull you down and they will adopt you, and you have to live underwater with them, and you're separated from your family. And that's enough. That's enough to set it in the child's mind like, well, I don't want to be separated from my mom and dad. You're not saying you're going to die. You're going to say you're going to get this new family that's under the ice. And it's scary. It's eerie.
Super terrifying.
And it is terrifying, but it's not like a polar bear is going to rip you limb from limb. It's going to eat you screaming while you're alive.
Yeah.
Or we're going to find your bloated corpse bobbing up in the water the next time we do a seal hunt. They're like, no.
But it is realistically what will happen, which is you'll just disappear forever.
Yeah.
And you'll bring others to join you eventually.
So,
of course,
spoilers for my boogeyman talk, but my favorite thing, the thing that I learned in the course of my research that kind of became a capstone that brought it full circle, is that in the 2020s, this rail company in Japan had a problem, which is the gap between the subway train and the platform was just wide enough for little kids to fall through.
Oh.
And they're like, we have this problem, which is a kid will drop his phone or he'll drop a toy, or a kid will be wandering around in this gap between the platform and the train. And it's only kids under 10 that are small enough for this to happen to. And they put their heads together and then commissioned a study. And they're like, what can we do to better prepare kids in the year 2025 to stay away from this gap in the subway? And they're like, boogeyman. So they invented a brand new boogeyman for the Japanese rail system called Tsukimomori. And he's this 50-foot long purple one-eyed lizard that lives in the gap.
Let's go.
They have posters, they have songs, they have AR filters, they have children's books, they have plushies, they have merchandise that are all to warn kids, if you drop your phone or your Game Boy down, like it's gone, Tsukimomori has it.
He's got it.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be down there with Tsukimomori,
bro, got that shit.
Yeah. So I'm gonna reach over to my shelf and grab a prop real quick.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Let's go.
So this is an amulet I bought in Japan with Tsukimomori on it. And
hell yes.
I just love that in the year 2024, 2025, and this is an ongoing program, you can follow them on Instagram and everything. Like, they're getting the word out to children under 10 to teach them about subway safety. And they know that the best way to do it is with story, is with character.
Yep.
It's with boogeyman.
Let's go. That's
fucking
awesome.
You know, Jeff, like, I love a lot about having you on the show, but the one thing I maybe appreciate above all else is your ability to take my dumb, intrusive thoughts and make them seem like they're part of like a smart, well thought out argument.
That's why I'm here.
Hey,
that's why we're all here, Jeremy.
It takes a team, really.
It takes a village.
It takes a village.
Yeah.
All right, Jeremy. You know what else takes a village? Rating this movie. And this is a village of 3, but that'll have to be enough. The way we rate things on Fermented Fiction is we tell you how many drinks or substances of your choice you need to enjoy the movie to the fullest. So for the Boogeyman, Jeremy, how many drinks or whatevers do you need to enjoy it to the fullest?
Now, look, I think, it's a tricky one because when it comes to thematic drinks or things that appear in the film, like, it turns out it's just water and like weed that somehow has a tooth in it.
Yeah.
And so I'd advise going with something else. But look, there are a few points where you'll wanna sip of something or a hit of something. Depending on depending on your persuasion. Like, you'll want one for sure when like Lester Billings is in the office and you realize, hey, you can actually go to a priest without being Catholic, Christian, or religious in any way, actually. That's not part of it. They'll just straight up talk to you. It's crazy.
They will.
They won't even charge you money or nothing. It's wild.
Yeah, they'll
there's
just
a
let you
collection
do
plate
it.
that might come by, but that's
There's a collection plate, and it is fully optional every time.
Only if you go at the wrong time, though.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like, if you just happen to be walking by during the collection portion of a mass, then yeah, you might
Just
feel
wait.
like morally obligated, but you can wait till after. The priest's busy anyway.
Just wait.
Anyway, so 1 for that, obviously.
Sure.
Now, then, of course, at a certain point, you'll have, while Lester Billings is still alive, you'll have the thought, or maybe you won't, of like, why seek out a therapist before like the Winchesters or a biologist?
Yeah.
Or something that'll actually help your situation because you're dealing with a thing that doesn't exist and maybe science wants to know. I don't know.
Sure.
So drink for that. Drink for a recent apparent horror trope that I really enjoy, which is from recent years, and it's the trope that horror only happens to the rich, which I find deeply satisfying. Like, oh wow, you own a home and have a functioning therapist's practice. Well, bad things should happen to you, actually.
I'm married to a therapist, by the way, and people's perception of how much money therapists make is outrageous. It's not the case.
I'm not saying that Deanna has that money, but this guy...
No, I assure you, she does not.
I know. Don't even trip, dog.
I'm not.
I
just think it's funny.
Look, this therapist does have home-owning money when his wife was an artist.
Yeah, that's not real. I am an artist, and yeah.
Yeah. Look, they're independently wealthy and should pay for that. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, also, have another drink when you wonder to yourself, why would you find and then rig up functioning Polaroid cameras in a closet with a string and a flash? And also how? How did you do any part of that? You want to know. Have another drink, of course, when you think, hey, you guys should stop investigating strange noises. Just strike a match and walk away. That'll save you from like 40 to 60 minutes of this movie.
Sure.
If you just do that. Maybe just do that. And also, you'll want to have a drink when you, like me, refuse to believe that American screenwriters have never smoked marijuana and therefore believe that it could make you hallucinate an unstoppable supernatural killing machine.
Right.
And Clay can tell you, of course, as can I, it doesn't do that.
It doesn't
do that. It makes
do
cartoons better. It makes Captain Crunch more appetizing.
It sure does.
Yeah.
That's
as close to horrifying as it gets.
Their mom was clearly smoking the stickiest of the icky, and whatever nasty old dried up roach she had.
Oh my God! Which, by the way,
a lot of stock in that. Yeah.
Yeah, which, by the way, totally inaccurate. Like, weed is just better now, and in 2023, it was way better than it would have ever been. Whatever she was rolling up,
like maybe 70s weed was like that. I don't know.
It wasn't. It was not as good.
I'm a 90s baby.
Yeah. I mean, the only way 70s weed was that potent is if it was laced with LSD, which, sure, possible. But, like,
possible.
That's not the same thing. That's the LSD doing that, not the weed.
Yeah.
The weed is never going to do that. Weed just makes you chiller and hungrier and maybe slightly paranoid, but not like meth paranoid. Like, you're not going to see anything. You might think someone knocked on your door, but you're going to be too lazy to check. And then, you know, if nobody knocks again, then you'll know it didn't happen.
Come on, screenwriters. Just do better.
Come on now.
Yeah.
And that's why my recommendation for how much to take.
I'm still going if you want.
Oh, you're still going?
I'm still going. I got so much.
Up, bud. How much more do you have?
Not too much, but like there's more. Yeah. Like,
okay,
have a drink when you have the thought to yourself, maybe listen to your teenage daughter who is plenty old enough to know that monsters aren't real and says that a monster is real. Have a drink for that, of course. Have a drink when you're like, oh wow, ghosts are actually real here? Oh, that's interesting. And then, just to cap it off, have a drink when you realize that Sadie is going to burn down so many buildings in her life, just suspecting that the boogeyman is there. And then you're done. That's only like 10 drinks. You may die.
You might.
You might.
So we'll say that's hard mode, maybe even legendary mode. If you do it Jeremy's way. My way is going to be easy mode. I'm going to go with what we said way earlier in the show, which is just smoke hella weed and watch this because, you know, it's a pretty fun movie on its own merit. It's a solid, I don't know about great, but it's a really good, solid horror movie. So if you like horror and you're already in for the ride and you're just like, yeah, I'm going to watch a horror movie that is above average, but not great. Weed will probably take it to that next level for you, where you're just like, you're crashing on the couch. You're also not going to be super scared, so therefore not subjected to the boogeyman latching onto you, but you'll really enjoy the ride. So that's what I say. Smoke hella weed, whatever that is for you. You know, for me, it's really not that much, despite the fact I've smoked weed my whole life. Weed tolerance doesn't work like alcohol tolerance. I never like developed a crazy high tolerance to it. So, you know, for me, it's a few hits of a good vape pen and I'll be where I need to be for it to be hella weed. Maybe it's a big old bong rip, or maybe it's a dab for you, or 2 dabs, or whatever. If you're a psychopath, do what you got to do for it to be hella weed and enjoy the movie. Jeff, what about you? And then when you're done, tell the fermented folks one more time who you are, what you do, and where they can find you.
Gladly. So you can watch this movie stone cold sober and have a good time. It really is a fun, effective movie. However, if you're in the Southwest, or if you're down around Albuquerque way, if you make your way over to the Painted Lady and pick up some of their Boogeyman Porter, it'll go down so smooth. Highly recommend. As for me, you can find me on Instagram at Jeff C. Carter. You can find me on my website, jeffccarter.com, or newly at wickedwhispers.live. And of course, the podcast, We Bleed Orange and Black, that just recently wrapped up some collaborations with Fermented Fiction, going through the various Stoker Awards for superior achievements in all categories.
Yep, that's right. So you can check out those collabs where Jeff is on the show quite a bit. And we're talking with lots of industry professionals in their various genres and forms of writing. If you like that kind of thing, a little more of the academic side, the more literary side of the craft, or go check out Jeff's podcast where he interviews lots of authors. He does panel discussions. He discusses Halloween and horror in all its various facets and colors and creeds. Thank you so much for being here, Jeff. We always appreciate you on the show, brother, and it's always good to see you. And thank you, Fermented folks. Please do like, comment, and subscribe. If you really love the show, go subscribe on our Substack for just $8 a month. You get exclusive access to our members only Discord and merch deals and all that kind of shit. Otherwise, we'll see you next week when we talk about the fucking Odyssey with C.S. Humble. It's going to be a good time. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Later.